Hey everybody, Trail Dog Adventures here. I read this document that was here in the cabin that we're staying in, and here it is. It was on the table with the logbook and stuff. So I started reading it last night and finished it up this morning. It's 21 pages, so I'm not going to go into all the detail on it, and I am not an expert on this story, even though I have heard it before coming out to the site. It's the story of what they call the Death Valley Germans. Back in 1996, there was a routine helicopter patrol flying over this area on October 22nd. And what they ended up finding was a 1996 Plymouth van, like a family-style van, in a wash. It's actually a little further out than where we're at right now, and we're like 25 and a half miles from the asphalt. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because we're camping at this location. I was reading a story and I was realizing that we're kind of at a crossroads in regards to this story where we're staying, to where good intentions led to bad decisions, and these bad decisions unfortunately ended up leading to the death of a family from Germany. Now, these people, the man was Egbert Rimkus, 34 years old. His son, George Weber, 11 years old. Egbert's girlfriend, Cornelia Meyer, 28 years old. And her son, Max Meyer, 4 years old. So this isn't just a couple adults out here running around in the desert. No, this is a full family, an 11-year-old and a 4-year-old on top of it. So apparently what happened is in October, on the 22nd, there was a routine helicopter patrol coming through the area, just making sure that everyone's behaving and such. They have people out here that do illegal things. So at around 10 a.m. in the morning, they noticed a van in the wash right over here. And they ended up landing, found the thing was locked. It was buried up to its axles in sand, and 3 of its tires were blown out. So they ended up doing a full search and rescue. There was at least up to like 250 people out here at one time or another. And I believe it was like $80,000 in cost for the search and rescue. They had 2 helicopters going, like 8 horses on the ground, people just hiking different canyons and washes, looking for different alternatives to where these people may have been, because they weren't at the vehicle anymore. So they ended up doing some backtracking at some point and found out what was going on with these people. So they've got things that they know, and then they've got things that they theorize because these people have never been seen again. And I think there may have been a conclusion recently. I think some bones may have been found, but I'm going to have to check that out when we get home. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll just discuss what we've got here so far. So These people flew into Los Angeles and rented a car at Dollar Rental, and they rented the car on July 28th, 1996. It was supposed to be due back by July 26th. So rented on July 8th, return on July 26th. And it had never been returned. But it was found in October by patrols. So the policy of the Dollar Rental car is that if it's not returned, they wait 30 days and they report it as stolen, which they did. And apparently what they wanted to do was they wanted to take this van and then come up to Death Valley, spend a few days, see the sights, and then head towards Yosemite. And they're in the middle of July, which is like the worst time of the year to be here. And plus they found out that these people were starting to have financial problems. They reached out twice to try to get funds available for themselves, and it didn't work out either time. But, excuse me. So they decided to take the trip, went out to Death Valley, and they were planning on somehow getting over towards Yosemite, but they know that they were at the Visitors Center in Furnace Creek. And apparently they ended up getting some maps. So since they didn't have any money, they didn't stay in Furnace Creek. They decided to go out, even in July, to camp out instead, and decided to do it in higher elevation where temperatures wouldn't have been as bad. So they were recording at that time, I believe it was 124 degrees down in Badwater Basin at Furnace Creek. So they definitely needed to get some elevation in order to get some sort of survivable comfort. So they decided to head south for some reason. And the thoughts are just because on the west side of the valley there's more camping opportunities and elevation change to get away from that low valley heat. So when they did find the car, they did find a camera in there, and they were able to identify where they were based off of the photos on the night after they were at the Visitors Center in Death Valley National Park. And that happens to be over that ridge, that direction. So the road terminates. And from what I've read, the road's not that bad, so they probably got an understanding that the roads are fairly good out here. And they decided the next night to come down this canyon here, and I'll show you that here in a second. All right. So they traveled down this road. They stopped at another camp, mining camp down the road. It's a more modern camp, and they did sign in on the logbook there, and they've actually got a picture of it right there. On 7/23 and 96, they signed their names, and in German, they wrote that they're going over the pass. So once you get past that mining camp, the road changes. all the way up from asphalt to that camp. It's a wide, graded, old mining road that I believe that camp was abandoned in the 80s. So it's in condition enough where you can get a streetcar down it without having a four-wheel drive. And then once you get to that camp, everything changes. So the road starts getting a lot rougher. There's four-wheel drive needs, and there's definitely hope that he paid for the extra insurance on this vehicle. Because it's rough, and, well, nowadays, this is a long time ago, but, you know, it's rough now getting through in just a four-wheel drive vehicle. So they sign in on the log, they travel down this road, and where they were looking to go, I'll show you here in a second. So they came down this road and then continued on, and they were looking to go that direction, which there's a pass there that drops you onto the other side of this mountain range, and then will eventually lead to asphalt. All right, so it's thought that they may have followed the maps and were trying to head towards Yosemite, moving east, because they started getting into a time crunch, wanting to see Yosemite, but still having to get back, return the vehicle, and then the next day they had flights back to Germany. So now, the theory is that they went up the pass and found out that their vehicle was not capable. Because once you head back that direction, the road gets more serious, and it's definitely a four-wheel drive capable vehicle. And the thought is that they may have stopped, maybe walked it, got an assessment of the road, and then decided that they weren't capable of doing that, especially since they've already maneuvered their way up here successfully somehow. They figured out that they had some sort of limitations and they weren't going to be able to make that. So the thought is that continued the stress in regards to having to return the vehicle and their plane tickets and the lack of money. So the thoughts are that they came back down this direction. Now, at some point, whether it be on the way up towards the pass or on their way back down from the pass, that they stopped here, because this cabin here is at the crossroads of everything. Now, they know that they were here at some point, because in the vehicle, when it was found abandoned, they found the flag that you fly here, the American flag, that was marked that it belonged to this cabin. So they do know that they were here, and this cabin currently and typically normally is stocked with food. It's got shelter. There's even a spring with fresh water, and they typically have water also. The people, they donate as they come through. So this particular location was their last opportunity for survivability. And again, the thought is that they decided to push on because of their time constraints. Because at that time, they were not in a survival mode. So they continued on, and they wanted to get back to the main road, the asphalt. So it's thought that they did not want to go back down the road that they came in because of how rough it is. But the maps apparently at the time showed the original road that came up to this area before this new one that they came down was cut in, and it was tied into the larger mining activity down there to make it more accessible up here. So the road that they ended up taking is the old abandoned road, and it gets bad. So let me show you where that goes. All right, so this is the road that they came in on, and then they continued this direction towards the pass, came back down, and then on the maps they saw the other access road that was abandoned, and that goes off that direction. And there it is. There's the road there. It drops into the next canyon, which is on the other side of this ridge. So they're between this mountain and that mountain, heading this direction, which is heading back in the direction that they wanted to go. But you can see how rough this terrain is. There's nothing out here. Look at that big mountain. So the van was found on the other side of this ridge in the next canyon, somewhere down here, down in this area. All right, so that picture you just saw, that's the van as it was found in October. So this whole area was searched. Apparently they were like 4 miles from this particular site where they would have had an opportunity to get food, shelter, and water. But the theory goes is that they were pressed for time to return their car and meet their flight. But as they were heading down that canyon, things got rough and it got sandy. And this guy having a front wheel drive, you get a regular vehicle in sand, you hammer through it, keep your momentum going, or else you find yourself just getting sunk. But through that effort, he ended up blowing 3 tires and then burying himself into the sand. And then they were stuck. So this is the part, they know that the truck was there, or the van. This is where a lot of the theories start. What did they do? Where did they go? What was the thought process? How did they do it? And really nobody knows. But at some point after that date, between the 2 mountains, down the canyon, and then there's 2 mountains, they think that they decided to go for China Lake Naval, or the Air Force Base, instead of going towards the highway, because the base was actually half the distance closer. Now, in between those 2 peaks over there, there was a sleeping bag that was found that matched the retail container that they sell the sleeping bag in that was found in the van. There was a box with a bag in it, and then there was an empty box, and they ended up finding one out there, but when it was found, it wasn't associated with this particular event, and they didn't have it available for research into this story because they didn't know anything about it, or they didn't mentally they didn't tie to it, so they threw it out. And then there was an ATV driver that was driving through the area at some point that found 2 canteens that were apparently German canteens in that same area. But those, of course, are not available to look at either. So is this thing called the bottle bush that they found during the search, where there was this large bush and they found a beer bottle next to it, and they believe that because they were able to see an imprint in the ground from somebody's butt, they believe it was the man's butt, trying to probably figure out what direction he's going to do, how he's going to save everybody. There is a list of items. Ooh, there it goes. Oh. All right. Here's another picture, and that shows the van as it was found in the wash, or in the canyon over there. But this is what they found in the van. 2 unopened bottles of beer, Bud Ice, 1 empty bottle, 1 empty and 1 3/4 full bottle of bourbon, several empty large water and juice containers, luggage and clothing, numerous exposed rolls of 35mm film, and a camera, 35mm. 1 new Coleman sleeping bag in its box, 1 empty Coleman sleeping bag box. That goes back to what we were talking about, what was found out there. There was a tent, a pipe with tobacco, a leather card carrier containing Swiss bank cards, and a Citicorp card for Egbert, a card from the Seahorse Resort in San Clemente, numerous toys, and an unused compact tire or spare tire and jack. So, and the vehicle was found locked also. So, there's a lot of information on this. The bottle bush is like determined in the theories that that's a place where he was scouting ahead, trying to figure out if they're going to go to Badwater, or the naval base, the China Lake base, was on their maps. So, and from where the bottle bush, you could see down the canyon, they say, see where they need to be down there in the east side of the valley. And you could also see what apparently is a pass heading towards the base. And they think, too, because Europe bases are a little bit different than us. They have fencing and, they've got patrols and stuff. That was their intent, was to go down there to be able to get the help, thinking that if they got to the fence of the property, that there would eventually be a guard that would come by and save them. But these remote bases aren't like that. A lot of them have electronic devices anymore nowadays, but they didn't run fencing around them. It's just the remoteness that kept people away. But it's just interesting to be here and read the story, and to know that, this cabin here was their last opportunity for survival in regards to food and water. But their intentions were driven by other things. Like lack of money, getting the rental car back, which is money, plane tickets, which is money, then adds to more money, because then you got to get hotels if you missed a flight, And it's understandable, but in the middle of July, making a trip like this is it's dangerous if you're not prepared, especially when you're driving a Plymouth van 25 miles into the backcountry of Death Valley, and then ramming yourself through some tough obstacles and then trying to find an easier way out. And then it ends up leading to the death of 4 people. So that's kind of a quick summary. This is just more of a historical site in regards to that, so it got me thinking. Because I'm sitting here at a place that the last building that they were at, I could see where they came from. I could see where they went to. I could see the canyon where the last remains that are confirmed. So kind of changes the tone of the place a little bit. Sad, but still, it's an interesting part of history here in Death Valley. So if you're interested in more information, more detailed stuff, there's plenty of stuff out on the, you can probably YouTube it or Google it. I'm just giving you a quick summarization of what I know and what I've read here at the site and being at the site and seeing the actual roads that they were driving on. And I can see the canyons where they think that they may have perished. So it's a lot to think about. You're just sitting here with nothing going on except enjoying the weather and the beautiful view. So yeah, check out this view. So that mountain there would have been a landmark for them. That's where they came in. They came across this little valley here. They went this way towards the pass, possibly. But they do know that they went that way, all the way down that way, to the place where they ended up getting their vehicle stuck and then never being seen again. So I hope you like this. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.